Nobody expected Bubba Wallace's Sonoma weekend to fall apart this quickly. One moment, the number 23 Toyota looked capable of delivering one of Bubba Wallace's strongest qualifying performances on a road course. Just seconds later, the front of the car was destroyed. The session was over, and instead of preparing for a solid starting position, the entire 2311 racing crew was suddenly facing a race against the clock just to get the car ready for Sunday. What makes this crash even more painful is that it happened after Bubba Wallace had already put together a competitive lap. One small mistake erased everything. So what exactly happened? How much damage did it cause? Can Bubba Wallace recover from the back of the field? And why could this accident become a huge problem for his playoff hopes? Stay with us until the very end, because we'll also talk about Bubba Wallace's incredible fight back in the last Cup race and the costly penalty that nearly ruined that performance. For Bubba Wallace, Sonoma was supposed to be another opportunity to build momentum. Just 1 week earlier, the number 23 team had produced one of the most impressive recovery drives of the season. Confidence inside 2311 racing was growing, and although Sonoma has never been Bubba Wallace's strongest circuit, there was optimism that the team could still collect valuable points. Qualifying started exactly the way they wanted. He attacked the track with confidence and completed a fast opening lap that temporarily placed him inside the top 10. Considering Sonoma's technical layout and Bubba Wallace's history on road courses, that was an encouraging start. It looked like there was even more speed available. Like many drivers, Bubba Wallace stayed aggressive on his next attempt, searching for those final tenths of a second that often separate the front rows from the middle of the pack. That's when everything changed. As Bubba Wallace exited turn 10, the car drifted just slightly wider than intended. His right side tires reached the edge of the racing surface before touching the gravel outside the pavement. At that point, every driver knows how dangerous the situation becomes. The moment the tires lose grip in the gravel, bringing the car back under control becomes incredibly difficult. Bubba Wallace immediately fought the steering wheel, trying to catch the slide before it was too late. For a split second, it looked like he might save it, but the rear of the Toyota suddenly snapped around. Moments later, the number 23 slammed hard into the outside wall, heavily damaging the front end and ending his qualifying session on the spot. The impact was hard enough to destroy the front end of the Toyota and immediately end the qualifying session. NASCAR's cameras captured the entire sequence as Bubba Wallace climbed from the car without injury, while the damaged car sat against the barrier. Reports confirmed he was evaluated and released, with no injuries. For Bubba Wallace, the frustration was obvious. The disappointing part wasn't simply crashing. It was crashing after proving the car actually had speed. Had that mistake not happened, Bubba Wallace likely would have secured a much stronger starting position than where he'll now begin Sunday's race. Instead of talking about a promising qualifying effort, the conversation immediately shifted toward repairs. The crew rushed to inspect every damaged component. The biggest question became whether the primary car could be repaired or whether the team would need to prepare a backup. Either scenario carried consequences, even if the primary car could be fixed. NASCAR rules meant Bubba Wallace would surrender his qualifying position and start from the rear of the field because of the crash damage and repairs. Starting at the back is never ideal. At Sonoma, it's even tougher. Unlike superspeedways where drafting can quickly move drivers through the pack, Sonoma is a narrow road course where passing opportunities are limited. Track position matters. Every restart becomes critical. One mistake from another driver can destroy an entire afternoon. That's why this qualifying crash creates a much bigger challenge than simply fixing sheet metal. Now, Bubba Wallace must fight traffic for nearly the entire race. The team will have to rely on perfect pit strategy, clean execution, and timely cautions if they hope to recover significant positions. The difficult reality is that this accident also arrives at a bad time in the season. Every point matters. Drivers fighting around the playoff cut line simply cannot afford unnecessary setbacks. Instead of entering Sunday with confidence after a solid qualifying effort, Bubba Wallace now faces one of the hardest recovery jobs in the field. Ironically, the speed itself wasn't the problem. The number 23 looked capable. The mistake came while trying to find just a little bit more. That's often the fine line in NASCAR qualifying. Drivers aren't racing each other. They're racing the stopwatch, and sometimes pushing that extra 1% is enough to end the session against the wall. Fortunately for Bubba Wallace, the biggest positive is that he walked away completely unharmed. Modern NASCAR safety continues to protect drivers extremely well, allowing Bubba Wallace to immediately shift his focus towards Sunday's race rather than worrying about injuries. Now the challenge becomes mental. Can he put the mistake behind him? Championship-caliber drivers don't spend race day thinking about yesterday's crash, and they maximize whatever opportunity remains. That's exactly what Bubba Wallace and crew chief Charles Dennehy will attempt to do. Instead of chasing a perfect afternoon, they'll likely focus on smart strategy, protecting the car early, and gradually working forward as the race develops. If cautions fall at the right time, a top finish isn't impossible. But there's no question this crash made the job dramatically harder before the green flag has even waved. What's interesting is that this isn't the first time Bubba Wallace has had to respond after adversity. Just last weekend in San Diego, the number 23 team experienced an emotional roller coaster. A loose wheel triggered NASCAR penalties and dropped Bubba Wallace 2 laps behind the leaders. Many teams would have accepted defeat. Instead, Bubba Wallace fought back throughout the afternoon with impressive pace, smart strategy, and relentless determination. By the checkered flag, he had climbed all the way back to finish second in one of the strongest comeback drives of his Cup career. After the race, Bubba Wallace summed it up perfectly, saying, "P2 today." Disappointed thinking what could have been, but can't not be pumped for Corey, Booty, 2311 and our team sticking with it today. Small victories, the grind continues. That performance reminded everyone that this team refuses to quit. Now they'll need that exact same mindset again at Sonoma. The circumstances are different, the challenge is different, but the mission remains the same. Turn another difficult situation into a positive result. If Bubba Wallace can once again recover from the back of the field, it would send another strong message that this number 23 team has become one of the toughest groups in the garage. But first, they'll have to overcome the costly mistake that turned what looked like a promising qualifying session into a complete disaster. One mistake ended qualifying, but Sunday's race will decide whether that mistake defines Bubba Wallace's entire weekend. Do you think Bubba Wallace can recover from the rear of the field and still finish inside the top 10 at Sonoma? Or has this qualifying crash already ruined his weekend? Share your prediction in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to NASCAR Nation News, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest NASCAR news, drama, and race analysis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.